Hi, I'm Rachel the Realtor, and this is your Gwinnett Home Buying Guide. Today, first, our last video, we talked about what's going to happen in your meeting with your realtor. And so we talked about how there's some things that you need to know before you talk with your realtor, such as location. You want to be able to tell your realtor the area that you want to move into. So is it near your job? Is it near family? Do you want to live in Lawrenceville, Lilburn? Um, you want to have a pretty concise area. Okay, so looking in Marietta and Lawrenceville, that's not a good idea because those are two totally different areas on the opposite side of Metro Atlanta. Okay, so make sure you have your location pretty much down pat when you talk to your realtor. Second is motivation. Your realtor is going to want to know, why do you want to move? And why do you want to do it at this time? Is there a life event that has happened? Are you getting married? Are you having a baby? Is it a divorce? Is it a new job? What's your motivation for wanting to purchase a new home now? Then you want to know about your money. How about that? Your money. And so your money, that means you want to know about your credit. Okay. Ideally, we'd like to have your credit to be 620 and above. There are some programs for credit that's like 580, as low as 580. But the better and higher your number is, the better your interest rate will be. So you want to know something about your credit. Also, your agent is going to ask about your savings. Have you been saving for this process? Yes, there are some first-time homebuyer programs. Yes, there is the VA loan, which is a 100% loan. You don't need a down payment for it. And yes, there are some other programs where you don't need a down payment. However, you still need some money. So we need to know, have you been saving for this? Okay, so let us know that. And then we need to know what you need in a home. How many bedrooms, bathrooms, a garage, a yard, fenced in yard. You need a long driveway, stuff like that. So those are some things that we talked about in the last video about meeting with your realtor. Today, we're going to talk about protecting your earnest money. As a realtor, one of my main jobs is not showing you houses and not sending you homes, but protecting your earnest money. Because anybody can open a door for you and say, hey, come on in and see this. But where the rubber meets the road is contract to close. And so during this contract time, one of the ways is one of our most important jobs is to protect your earnest money. Earnest money is the money is like your down payment, not your down payment, but a deposit on a house. So you find a house, you go under contract, and you have to pay some earnest money. Earnest money is generally about 1% of the purchase price. So let's say you're purchasing a home for you have a contract for $400,000. Then your earnest money is going to be about $4,000, and you need to have that readily available. That money you will need to pay to, it's likely you will need to pay that to your closing attorney. And generally they'd like that in a wire or an ACH deposit to send directly to them. Always, if you're ever wiring earnest money or your closing, your money for closing, always double check the wire instructions with the attorney where you're sending it. Okay, there are people that out there that are, that are checking our emails and monitoring them for closing funds and stuff like that. And so if your agent ever sends you an email and says, hey, the wire instructions are changed and now wired, here's some new instructions, don't test that. Never, don't do that. Always call the closing attorney to verify where you should wire your funds to. always verify where you should wire your funds to, because if you send them to Timbuktu, don't know if we can get that back for you. Okay, so that's one way. That's a way we can help you protect your earnest money. Not one of the official ways, but that's just some information for you. Another way we protect your earnest money is through the due diligence period. Your earnest money will generally be due maybe a few days after everyone has signed off on the contract. And so, like I said, it's about 1%. So let's say it's $4,000. And so I like to have earnest money due 4 days after binding agreement. And that's the date when everyone has signed the contract. And so you get it done then. And generally, I like to, but this can be negotiated. But I'd like to have 10 days of due diligence period. Your due diligence period is that time when you can have your home inspected. And if there are any repairs that are needed, you can ask for repairs. And if you don't get what you need, you can terminate the contract. But also during that time, let's say during this 10-day period, you go to sleep one night and you wake up and the sky looks purple to you. And you said, call me up, hey, Rachel, the sky is purple and that is a sign that this is not the house for me. Well, during this 10-day period, I can say, okay, we can terminate the contract and get your earnest money back. And I don't mind doing that. My desire is that you are comfortable with this process, with this home, that you feel confident in your decisions that you're making. It's okay to be a little nervous, but you still need to be confident in what you're doing. But, and so, like, for instance, one time during the due diligence period, I was working with an elderly couple, and there was a retaining wall by the driveway, and it was raggedy. It was a raggedy retaining wall. It was going to take quite a bit of work. And there were a few other things in the house. And I knew that this couple was just not the type that would be able to do those repairs. And they just wouldn't want to handle all that. So when they decided that that the house was just had too many issues for them and they wanted to terminate it, that was a great decision. And I supported that decision. But, if you call me, 2-3 times after we've been under contract and you want to terminate because the sky is purple, I'm going to say, hey, have you seen an optometrist? Okay. We just can't go writing contracts and terminating them all willy-nilly okay. But it is important to me that you're comfortable with the decision that you're making. So you have that 10-day period or whatever amount of time that we're able to negotiate for you to have to protect your earnest money. The next way I protect your earnest money is with your financing contingency. And that is one of the reasons why we ask you to do all your heavy lifting before we go out and look at homes. I know people just like to go out and look at homes and stuff, but there is a method to our madness, okay? We like for you to talk with the lender and put in your full application. And they're going to ask you for your W-2s, your bank statements, your taxes, and all that kind of stuff. And so before you go looking at homes, you want to be sure to get all that information because, you don't know where it might be. Hopefully most of it is electronic and it'll be easy with a few keystrokes to get that to your lender. But, what if you got to go, look under a pile of papers on your desk, search through that, and it might take you a couple days to get that together. Well, generally speaking, in a contract, with mine, I do a 21-day financing contingency. And so we want you to concentrate on something else during that 21 days rather than looking for your last bank statement, looking for your last pay stub, trying to get your tax information to them. That's the heavy lifting stuff. We want all that heavy lifting stuff to be done prior to showing homes so that when we go under contract, if your lender needs something, it's something that you need to get to them that was recent. Last week's pay stub, last month's bank statements, which you probably got 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that. I hope that makes sense to you. But because when your lender asks for something, they want it yesterday, because we're on a time frame. And the sooner you get that stuff done, the better, because if we hit a bump in the road, then we want to have time during that 21 days to figure out what we need to do. Do we need to terminate so we can get your earnest money back? Do we need to find another lender that can maybe navigate that bumpy road better than the one that we're dealing with? Is it even possible to do that right now? So it's okay if on day 10 or even day 15, if the lender says, hey, we have an issue and we have a little time to work it out. And then if we need to terminate, we can do that on day 21. But if you come to us on, if you're lollygagging and dragging your feet and getting, documents to the lender, and please, I hope that doesn't sound too bad. I'm not trying to insult anyone, but I just know life be lifing. And unfortunately, if life is lifing and you're under contract, you got to prioritize this, because this is your money on the line. And we're trying to get these documents in a certain time period, because if you come to me on day 22 and say, hey, or your lender says, hey, we can't do this loan, I might not be able to get that money back for you. Okay. So the quicker we get the heavy lifting done, the quicker we get, all this other stuff into the lender when they ask for it, the better off we are, because if something comes up and we have to terminate, I can get your earnest money back. Okay? So that's called the financing contingency. And generally speaking, it can be about 21 days. But some loans, sometimes in a negotiation, that can be shortened. And then the next way we protect your earnest money is through the appraisal contingency. When you purchase a home, the bank says that they'll loan you this amount of money, but then they have to figure out how much is this house worth, and is it worth this amount of money? Okay, so they're going to send an appraiser in, and the appraiser will say, hey, this $400,000 house, it either is worth $400,000, and that's great, and we keep moving forward, or they'll say it is not worth $400,000, and they'll give you an amount. So let's say it's worth $380. Let's say it's worth $380, and then we got to go, and we'll go to the seller and say, hey, Mr. Seller, here's the appraisal. They say your house is worth $320, and we'd like for you to drop the price to, $380, and we'd like for you to drop the price to $380. They'll say yes or no. If they say yes, yay, we keep moving to the closing table. If they say no, then you have to decide, do you want to bring $20,000 in addition to your down payment and other closing costs to the table so you can close? Or do you want to say, adios, we're going to hit the streets and keep looking, and I'm going to get your earnest money back for you? Okay? So the 3 ways that we protect your earnest money is with the due diligence period, and that's generally within the first 10, 15, or however many days it's negotiating the contract. Your financing contingency, I generally ask for about 21 days to have that done, or the appraisal contingency. Those are the 3 ways we protect your earnest money in a home buying process. Hey, I hope you liked the video. I hope that you found it informative. We'll be back with some more information for you here at Gwinnett Home Buying Guide. I'm Rachel, the Realtor. If you are thinking about purchasing a home within 90 days, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you about it. My contact information is in the description below. If you just have a regular question, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to answer it. Thanks again. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Bye.